Pantheon of the Geeks. Today we're taking a look at Stargrave. So this is a skirmish game set in a science fiction universe. And I've come across this book. If anyone's ever played Frostgrave, they'll know exactly what this is. I have not played Frostgrave, and it was a game I was considering getting into, and I didn't. So this is the first time I've read anything by the author. And I'm very impressed, to be honest, with Stargrave. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to have a quick look at it, see what I like about it, so I'll show you what it's about if you don't already know, and we'll have a look at what the rules sort of encompass. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything in the book, but yeah, so let's have a look. So Stargrave is set in a sort of generic sci-fi universe, if you will. The miniatures in the book, the actual ones you see pictured, are very sort of retro looking. But you can play this game with any miniatures you want, any sci-fi miniatures you've got. You could technically play this. It's not very prescriptive as far as details go. Scale-wise, these are 28mm, but you could play slightly larger. As you read through the book, it doesn't matter about base size either. So you are pretty much free to use whatever models you want to use. However, the Stargrave models are quite nice, and in a future video we're going to actually unbox, have a look, and maybe build a few. And again, with the terrain, it's any terrain you can get your hands on that looks like an alien planet, so pretty much anything, but lots of it. It needs to be quite a crowded table. This game also uses D20s, something I didn't really have a lot of. I do have a couple of D&D sets, but I didn't want to really split them up just to get D20 out. So I went on Amazon and bought myself a pack of D20s. You really only need one each for each player, so there's plenty to choose from in there, plenty of different colours, maybe even for different crews. So that's cool. Again, not too bad expensive wise on Amazon, but you can get D20s in quite a few local hobby stores as well, so check out there first. The next thing you'll probably want after you've got yourself a table and after you've got yourself some dice is a ruler, obviously. That's something you need in every game. The models, and also the crew sheet and templates. Now, show what a crew sheet looks like. There is a copy of it in the back of the book. I'll show you that first. There's a copy of all the stuff you'll need in the back of the book. There's actually like a cheat sheet as well, right at the back. With creature actions and everything, so you can photocopy this if you wanted to. You have all the powers that you'll need in nice little cutout things though, and you have your crew sheet as well, and there's also some templates in there, but all these resources are available free to download online, which I've done there. Also, if you just want to make yourself an Excel sheet, you could do that too. But I have also downloaded quick reference term and everything from the website rather than photocopying it. I do have the templates here, so I'll just quickly show you those. I've not cut them out yet, I've actually just downloaded them. So we have a flamer template, a smoke template and a blast template. So armed with that, the book then goes on to telling you how to assemble a crew basically. So the main thing in this, if you've not played Frostgrave before, is you've got, like, basically in Frostgrave you've got like your captain, leader, whichever one's in charge. In this one it's a captain, and then you have your first mate. The rest of the people on your crew, of up to 10, including those two, will just be crew, if you will. Bog standard soldiers. I think it says in the book they're actually classed as soldiers, but there can be a variety of different things which we'll get on to. But the first thing you want to do is think about your captain, who the captain's going to be, what they're going to do, and I think we'll actually create one of the crews I'm going to do while I'm on camera, just to show you how to do it. But the crew I'm thinking of creating is kind of like your standard trope from like Han Solo, Firefly, nothing too adventurous, but pretty much a rogue in charge of it, and a crew trying to survive by trading and smuggling and things like that. So a lot of the crews in this will do. Some of the crews I'm going to run is a cyborg crew and a robot expert crew, things like that. So when you're choosing your captain, you choose yourself a background to go with it. We have Biomorph, basically a shapeshifter. And you get your powers and everything from this. This is where you've got stat modifications to the stats, which I'll show you in a second. And then you have your core powers here. Cyborg, so any sort of cyborg creature you can think of, maybe a Sith Lord. Then we have Mystic. This is definitely a Jedi / Sith. If you look at some of the powers that they've got, it's like Control Animal, Dark Energy, Heal, Life Leech, Mystic Trance, Puppet Master, Suggestion, and Void Blade especially, which is basically a power that makes a lightsaber. So Mystic is definitely your Jedi-esque trope, Sith trope, because a lot of dark side powers in there as well. So we also have Robotics Experts. So someone who basically builds an army of droids. We have the Rogue, which we're going to build one of those today. So Han Solo, like I said, or Mal from Firefly. Psionist, someone who's psychic, basically. Tekka and Veteran. So Tekka is someone who specialises in technology, no surprises there. And Veteran, a veteran of the last war. So when I said Mal from Firefly, he's probably more of a veteran, to be honest, because he's more of a soldier than a rogue, although he is roguish. Technically, maybe either. I don't know. It's hard to pick. But Han Solo's definitely a rogue. So we're going to go for a rogue today. Once you've chosen your captain, got an idea in your head of what you want, either from a miniature you've got and you think this will make a good captain, work it off that, or then you've got the task of trying to find a miniature that fits the one you've got in your head, which is a bit harder sometimes, but you can go on like Hero Forge or something like that and 3D print yourself off a miniature. If you've got that facility to do that, then you can pretty much imagine whatever you want and then go and make a model for it. And I have used Hero Forge in the past and I can recommend their sculpts. The sculpts are very heroic scale, much like the retro models here, they're heroic scale. So they fit in with anything that is on the heroic scale side of things rather than true scale. If you want true scale models, then you're probably going to have to like search like Infinity or something like that to get the models you want. And no other ranges come to mind, but I'm fine with heroic. So that's kind of what I'm going to use. So this is the stat line. You can see this on here. We have a captain's stat line there. M is movement, F is fight, S is shoot, A is armour, W is will, and H is health. This is the starting stat line for a captain. So 6 plus 3 plus 2, 9 plus 3 and 16. Which basically means your captain's got 16 hit points. He has plus 3 to any will rolls, plus 2 to any shooting rolls, plus 3 to any fight rolls. Got an armour of 9, which is kind of like the standard armour for a human who's wearing no armour. Apart from like light clothing, maybe like this guy in the picture. And then we have 6, which is the movement in inches. And these stats, when you roll dice, just literally get added to the d20 against the difficulty score. So, pretty easy to work out. Next up would be the first mate. But let's actually go and generate ourselves a captain. So if we refer back to the rogue, which we're going to make our captain a rogue in this crew, you basically get +1 to your will, +1 to your health, and then you choose between the following: +1 move, +1 fight, and +1 shoot. So I think our rogue captain, do I want him to be able to shoot first? I think so. So maybe definitely take the +1 shoot. And fight is quite a good stat to have quite high because it also is the way you defend when you're being shot at. So I think, because we're not really going to give him any heavy armour or anything, because he's more of a roguish character, so he won't have any minuses to his movement, because heavy armour gives you minus to your movement as combat armour, light armour doesn't. I think we will take the fight and the shoot. I think it makes sense. So +1 will, +1 health, +1 fight, and +1 shoot. So if we refer to these stats, we will have a move of 6. We'll have +1 to fight, so that makes that +3 or +4. We have +1 to shoot, so that makes that +2 a +3. Armour, we'll just put 9 for now. We're probably going to give him some white armour, but we'll get to that in a minute. Will goes up by 1, so +3 becomes +4, and the health went up by 1 as well. So instead of 16, it is 17. There. So now we've filled in our basic stats for our captain with no gear yet. We'll get on to gear next. The next thing we choose when we're making our captain is the powers. Now, if we go back to the rogue entry, we can see there's a whole bunch of powers in this book. The rogue can take bait and switch, bribe, cancel, power, concealed firearm, data jump, fortune, haggle, and quick step. Some powers, like haggle for instance, are used out of game to basically get more money for the crew. So they can be quite handy in the long run. But if you're playing a one-off game, you don't really want to take haggle. But in a campaign, it's a good one. We have quick step, which is good for getting out of situations. Bait and switch is good for basically getting the loot tokens, which we'll get to later, off people. Bribe is good for basically once during the game you can, if you can activate the power at the beginning of the game, you get to have a bribe token next to your crew, and you tell your opponent you got a bribe token at any point during the game. You can basically, when they're going to shoot, you go, no you're not, because you've bribed that crew member. You can't bribe a captain or a first mate, only a soldier, but you've bribed that crew member to basically not take that shot. So they basically go, no, I'm not going to shoot, I can't see you. Cancel power, like it says, cancels the power. Concealed firearm is good for pulling out a pistol in close combat and shooting first. I think we'll definitely take that for our captain. It feels thematic more than anything. Data jump's good for getting data loot, if you will, and then basically sending it to somebody else. Fortune, I believe that's a reroll. We'll have a look at that. Haggle gives you plus 20% to any loot that you find. I think it's just physical loot. As a quick step allows you to move out of combat, I believe. I need to reread that rule, but it's also a good one. So we've got all these nice powers we can choose from. We don't have. On the sheet you'll see there are actually 5 slots for powers. The captain will have 5 powers at the beginning, and 3 to 4 of these powers will be picked from this list, and then the last 1 or 2 powers are taken from any power you want. But any of those ones, because they're not class specific powers, are harder to actually activate. So I think definitely want to take bribe. I feel that could be very useful. I feel that bribe is going to be useful to this guy. Cancel power, maybe not so much, especially playing solo games. Concealed firearm, yeah, I'm going to go for concealed firearm. We have fortune. I think that's maybe a good one. Maybe take fortune. Fortune. I'm going to take fortune. But I'm going to go check what fortune does first. So, skipped ahead. Fortune. Place a fortune token next to the figure or on the crew sheet. At any point, the player may discard this token to get a combat reroll, shooting reroll, a stats roll made by that figure. If used, the figure must take the result of the reroll. They cannot use it. They can't choose to take the result. No figure can have more than 1 fortune token at a time. Yeah, we're going to take that. Okay, and do I want him to get out of combat quick, or do I want him to have haggle? Haggle's useful for getting a lot of money. I think he's more of a talker, so haggle. Now bribe is a before game power and haggle is an after game power, which is noted by a B and an A on the actual powers. So we'll just take a look at these powers. We did have a look at fortune. Actually, I'll just skip back. So hopefully you can see it on the camera. Every power that's above it has an activation, a strain, and when it's used, or like a quick hint on how it's used. So bribe, which we chose, is activation 14. So basically you roll a d20 and you want a 14 or more. Strain is how much damage you are taking to use that power. So if you use a power that's got 1 strain, it costs you 1 of your health to actually use it. And you can never use a power if it would take you down to 0 health. You can also in the game, if you fail the roll, use health. I think up to 3 points of health it says. Or I might have read that wrong, it might just be the example sheet, but you might be able to use up it to any amount of health. We'll have a look when we go through. But you can basically use health to make sure that it does activate. But again, you take your strain first, then you decide whether you're using the health. You're not allowed to take yourself down to 0 health. So the activation for bribe is 14. The strain is thankfully 0, so we're not going to be injured on that. Name is... oh, these are all the powers, that's fine. And then we took Concealed Firearm, which is an activation 10, strain 1 and self only. The power may only be used while figures in combat. The figure makes 1 plus 5 shooting attack against any other figure in combat. You don't randomise the target, which we would normally do when you're shooting into a combat. Even if there are multiple figures in the combat, if this attack damages the target, automatically pushed back 1 inch and stunned, even if it didn't take 4 damage. Brilliant. Concealed Firearm is a 10 with a strain of 1. Then we have Fortune, which we found before. So that's an activation of 12, strain of 0, 12, strain of 0, and Haggle, which is there, which is a 10 and a 0. That's a good mix of powers for perceived roguish smuggler. Now we've got room for 1 more power. I could have done 2, but I wanted to take the Haggle. But from this we can take any power that's in the list. However, the activation cost goes up by 2. So what do we want to give our illustrious smuggler? So we're starting with Break Lock for our final power. And this is activation 1, strain 1, and immediately unlocks a physical loot counter. So that could be handy mid-game. Because this isn't one of the rogue powers, the activation actually goes up by 2 to 14. So I'll just make a note of that. Break Lock. And strain 1. So as the powers of our captain sorted out, we also need gear. Captain can have up to 6 slots for gear. And you can pretty much choose any gear which is meant from the general list. There's no points cost attached to any of this, so you can choose whatever you want. But be aware, some things have negatives, like heavy armour is -2 movement. And if you're building someone who's a mystic, a lot of their abilities actually have negative impact if they wear armour as well. The armours. So we have light armour, heavy armour, combat armour and shields. Shields are something that will come along later in the game, so we're not going to worry about them. Combat armor is the most rare and expensive armor. It actually costs you 50 credits per game to bring that to into battle. So something you might consider straight away if you are just taking some cheap troops, but it's probably best left out of a starter set. One of mine does have it in. I'll be testing that theory, but I think overall it's probably best to maybe either upgrade your ship, which you can do later, to get these a couple of these in for free, or wait until you got a bit of money aside. So that leaves us with heavy armor, which gives you -1 to move, but does give you +2 to armor, and light armor, which is just +1 to armor. We will equip our captain with light armor. He's probably got some hidden plates in his civvies and such like. But we could do just a little extra protection. So we're going to give him +1 to his armour and give him more light armour. There we go. We also have other options for weapons. So kind of doing this in reverse. So we'll go back to the beginning. We've got general equipment. We have decks, which are good for breaking into data loot. Filter masks, which stop you from getting killed by gas, basically, and help in low oxygen levels. Medical kits for healing, and picks for breaking into actual physical loot. And then we go on to weapons. So we'll probably... He's got break lock, so he's already got the ability to just break something if he activates, but probably give him a pick as well. Just in case his power doesn't work. It takes up a slot, but he's got 6. Probably give him a filter mask. As well, to help protect him. So that'll leave us with 3 slots. We can have a hand weapon, 6 on 1. You can have unarmed and knives as well. Everyone pretty much is assumed to have a knife, because one knife doesn't take up a slot. It's only if you have multiple knives. A carbine takes up 2 slots. And basically the difference between weapons is the range you can shoot at. A pistol's range is 10, a carbine's range is 24. A shotgun's range is 12, but that does actually do +1 to damage as well, and that also takes up 2 slots. And something I nearly missed is under the shotgun description, this includes all soldiers. This bit here at the end basically means that any figure that would normally come with a carbine, when we look at the crew later, can switch that carbine out for a shotgun. No cost, just change it to a shotgun. So I nearly missed out when I started making the crews, because I thought, oh, they've got carbines, but some of the models that are coming along that I'm going to get, I've got shotguns, so how do I use those? But yeah, it's there in the description. We also have rapid fire weapons, and they take up 3 slots, I believe, but are quite potent. It's kind of like miniguns and stuff like that. If you're wearing heavy armour or combat armour, you can negate the -1 movement penalty for that as well. So that's worth thinking about. We also have grenades and smoke grenades. But considering we're going for like a roguish build, you know, with Han Solo, we're going to go with pistol. Probably give him a hand weapon, just in case he gets into combat. Hand weapon. And we also can take grenades. So we have grenade fragmentation and grenade smoke. Now, I might give him smoke grenades to give him a bit more survivability. Handwriting's terrible because of the way I'm sat. I can't even see what I'm writing. Okay, so I'll definitely struggle reading it later. That is our captain built. He would start at level 15, captain start at level 15, first mate start at level 0. The other crew doesn't have levels, so we just need a fancy name. So if I can't come up with one, and you guys can think of a fancy name for my captain, or any of my crew for that matter, stick it in the comments. So once you've made your captain, you do also need a name for the crew itself, a name for the ship, and then this is where you put ship upgrades and whatever you've got in the ship's hold, experience of your whole crew, and the credits you've got available. So we have our captain. So now we do the same again, but we're going to build a first mate. Now the first mate is identical in the way you sort of build it. They've got one less ability, one less power, sorry, and they only have 5 armor slots. They would also use the first mate's statistics, which is here. There we go. So you can see the statistics are a little bit less. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because it's pretty much the same as building the captain. Worth noting is that all activations for the first mate are increased by 2, and the activation isn't on the character class is increased by 4. And you can pick any other class you want. It doesn't have to be a rogue and a rogue. It can be a rogue and a psionist, a rogue and a veteran maybe. Do you want to make him like a Chewbacca type character? I don't have a model for that though. What would Chewbacca be? Might be interesting to have a biomorph on the crew. Shapeshifter. Because I could take things like toxic claws and toxic secretion, adrenaline, camouflage. It could be interesting. Might take a Tekka. Because Wookiees, you know, not that I have a model. I could always use my Star Wars models, I suppose. But Wookiees are kind of technologically advanced. Chewbacca's a bit cool in combat though, so maybe a veteran. Don't know which. Maybe a Tekka. Give him a Tekka. So I'll build one for a Tekka, and then once we've done that, we choose the crew. So to choose the crew, you're basically given 400 credits. And we have a standard soldier tail and a specialist soldier tail. You're allowed to pick up to 4 specialists for your crew, and you can have as many soldiers as you like. It's also worth noting the recruits and runners are free, so you can always have the maximum number of people in your crew, even if they're a bit rubbish. But you're never short-handed. They're always free to pick. So under the standard soldiers, we have obviously recruit and runner, hacker and chiseler, good for getting into loot of different types. We have guard dogs, sentries, troopers and medics. Under the specialist soldiers we have code breakers and case crackers, which are the better versions of the hackers and the chiselers. Commandos, pathfinders, snipers, grenadiers, burners, got nice flamethrowers, gunners, which have rapid fire weapons. Also the grenadier has the grenade launcher. And then we have armoured troopers. Now armoured troopers come with combat armour, so again they would cost that 50 gold, that's 50 credits to bring to battle, and they also cost 150 credits just to buy. So you couldn't actually even field 2 of those in your initial army. Actually you could, couldn't you? Yeah, but that'll be it. And then just recruits. But then if you didn't get any money after your first battle, you'd be a bit stuffed, because you wouldn't be able to take them again. The rules for that basically are, if you've got combat armour and you can't afford to pay for it, if it's a soldier specialist, they stay on the ship. You're not allowed to take them. You can replace them with a recruit or a runner for free. If it's your captain or your first mate, you basically need to have a different model if you've got one with combat armour on. Maybe when they don't wear the combat armour, either with light. You can replace it for free with light or heavy armour, or no armour if you're feeling really chancy. But there we go. So that's how you build your crew up with your 400 credits available. So I'll do that off camera because we're showing you how to build the captain, which is the complicated part, which isn't really complicated. The other option you've got, it's worth noting, is any of your crew you can designate as a robot. So like I said, I was going to build a full droid crew. All I'm going to do is say that the robots don't cost any extra. They get some abilities which help them against certain things, but then also they're vulnerable to certain things as well. So there's a payoff and there's a payoff because I think they're immune to gas. I think they're immune to being wounded, but something like electrical blasts. I think dark energy, and I think the EMP one do a lot more damage to robots than they do to normal humans. So, well, normal humanoids, should I say, biological beings. So there is a payoff, and you've got to decide yourself. So if you take an entire crew of robots, yeah, you don't have to worry about gas. And if someone's running around with EMPs and stuff, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. But you don't have to do your whole crew. You can do like half and half, or have one robot, or whatever. It's entirely up to yourself. And that's one of the things I really like about this, is so much flexibility in the kind of crews you can build. The limit's pretty much your imagination, and you can probably jam it into the rules. There's rules here for temporary crew members. During a game, you cannot pick up more than your maximum number, but they only last for that game. We had a look at the equipment list. The rules. So setting up a table. Basically, the advice to that is put as much terrain on as you want. Standard sort of table size is 3x3. You can play it on the size you want. The smaller it is, maybe you could use some three-dimensional terrain, almost like Necromunda, and sort of build it up a bit. But yeah, you can pretty much play a game of this on any size table you want. I think the minimums are probably 2x2. And then we have the rules for loot tokens. Basically, that's how you make money in the game. There's on a standard game, you have 5 loot tokens. You put one right in the middle of the table. You roll to see whether it's data or whether it's physical, and then you basically place 2 tokens in the enemy's sort of half of the table. And then they place 2 in yours. So you're kind of like need to put them out of reach, so they can't reach them. And then they'll try and put theirs out of reach. So you end up with some really interesting sort of trying to grab the loot token in situations. So the game itself is initiative phase. So you roll for initiative, like most games. See who goes first. And then we have the captain phase, the first mate phase, the soldier phase, and the creature phase. I'll go more into these when we actually play a game. But ultimately, the captain can go first, then the other captain goes, then your first mate, then the opponent's first mate, then anybody else who hasn't gone. When the captain and first mate activate, they can activate up to 3. I think it's up to 3. Yeah, up to 3 soldiers that are within 3 inches. I don't want to mix that up with just being 3 inches. Can activate at the same time as them if you want them to. After that comes the creature phase, and that is ultimately what the activation phase is. During activation, you get 2 activations. One's always movement, if you want to move. If you don't want to move, you can stand still, but you can't do 2 other activations unless you have an ability or a weapon that allows you to like shoot twice or something like that. And there are like the rapid fire weapons, you can shoot twice in the same turn with those. Stat rolls, again, it's usually against a target number if it's just a standard stat roll, or it'll be against an opponent's roll if it's like a fight. Movement is in inches. Like a lot of games, if you're used to playing other skirmish games, movement makes perfect sense in this game. And it's written pretty well. I'm really happy with the way this book is really written, to be honest. I find it really easy to understand. And it doesn't go into too many different rules. It's basically normal ground, obstructions, rough ground, and rules for forcing combat. And we have jumping and swimming, and like modifiers for like swimming based on how heavy your armour is, or if you're a robot, which is another thing robots suffer from. You get a -3 if you ever swim. So if you're on an oceanic planet, robots not going to be the best choice. Combat rules, pretty simple. You're on d20s, adding fights and taking highest numbers and doing damage. It's we'll go into this a lot more when we're actually playing the game, but it is actually really straightforward. There's a lot of examples in this about multiple combats as well, giving you ideas of how to work out who's in combat with who. Shooting, with the shooting rules here. Shooting to combat, obviously you can do, but you have a risk of hitting your own people. So it's kind of like randomisation rolling, flamethrower, we saw the template earlier, use that instead. We have a bunch of modifiers shooting here, which is something I keep forgetting that there are in the game. But we have +1 for intervening terrain, hasty shot, clear jam, light cover, stunned, heavy cover and large die. One thing I will say at this point is these are all pluses, but you're adding that modifier to your opponent's fight value, which they're using to sort of dodge the attack, rather than adding to your shoot value, which wouldn't make sense. We have the rules for throwing and firing grenades, because you've got grenade launchers, which basically just fire the grenades. Critical hits, you roll 20, it's a critical hit. And you automatically do damage, basically, unless your opponent rolls another critical. And then it goes in the favour of the defender. Weapon jams, you get if you roll a 1. And that causes you to have to reload the weapon or service the weapon, if you will, which takes up 1 of your activations. Damages and stuns, and the rule, got to keep trying to remember this one. If you take 4 damage from a single attack, shooting attack, your model becomes stunned, and you can put a stun marker next to them or knock the model over to say they're stunned, and then they have to stand up next turn, losing one of their activations. Then there's all the other rules in this, like for wounded. So basically, if you're down to 4 or less health, there's penalties to your attack rolls and dice rolls. And again, there's no advantage robots have is they don't get wounded. And that's it. Everything is pretty much really well set out in this book. As you come to it, it's all there. Quite similar tokens, creature actions, so you can get random creatures in this. Falls are quite a simple AI, if you can call it that. But there is a supplement you can download, a single player supplement from the website, and that has a better AI system in it than this does for playing 1-player games, which is something I'm going to be testing soon. So, all that said, that's all of your rules done. That was all your character creation done, and now we're on to campaigns. This is how you would run a campaign, and we've got, because obviously during many campaigns, after the battle you roll to see if anyone's died, anyone who's been injured, dented your health, should I say, has a chance to die or be badly wounded or just make a full recovery. So you'd roll and see what happens. You get permanent injuries, and you get experience, and you can trade your loot in, and you can use that to buy new equipment from the advanced technology tables and the alien artifacts tables as well, which are coming up. All the rules are here for that. There's the artifacts. You've got quite a lot to choose from. You also buy new people to join your crew, which you go back to the list at the beginning and you can just add them in. And you can also improve your ship. And one of the ones that, if you are going to take combat armour, I was going to say, is an armaments workshop, which allows you to take 2 suits of combat armour without having to pay the upkeep. Or you can also add 1 damage to carbine or a shotgun during the game. So this is a really good upgrade if you want to take heavier armoured people into combat and not have to keep paying for them. And I think this is kind of the image of what the combat armour looks like. So we're kind of looking at a fully enclosed power armour. Or yeah, I think it's called combat armour because I didn't want to really call it power armour. But yeah, if they do some models like that, I'll be really happy. So this is the rules on how to use powers. We touched on that earlier, but this clarifies it. It gives you all the powers there. You also really love the artwork in this book as well. It's really nice. As well as the painted models, they're excellent. And then we have the scenarios. So we have these scenarios here, and you basically roll to see which scenario you do. Each scenario does different things, just to give you a flavour. For instance, the Fire Moon one, the last scenario. There we go, the Fire Moon is basically a facility on a lava world. So you put 2 lava lakes, you put some fire mites on there, and yeah, you have some fire mites, your opponent has some fire mites, and you can actually gain points if you don't deploy them, but it's a random deployment, so you might not gain that. And you can use them to basically muck around with your opponent's plans as well. And you get experience from killing the fire mites too. So there's lots. There's the Overgrown Factory, Derelict Warship. They all come with their own little tables, which I really like. Starport Raid, that's a good one. You're trying not to stand near spaceships when they take off, or you get blasted back. And we have the Sky Mine and the Broken Fence. The Broken Fence is an interesting one because you use little ferox models, which are kind of like wolf foxes. And there's a lot of them can come onto the board. And you've got like a house in the middle and a fence around it, and people start on opposite sides. It sounds like a really interesting sort of scenario to play through. The Data Vault as well. All these are really unique ideas for scenarios rather than just the standard put things on the board and fight over it. But yeah, I want to test a lot of this out because obviously I haven't had a chance to actually play the game yet. Only read the book about 6 times all the way through, which is unusual for me because I only really read rules once and then have to keep referring back to them. But I've really enjoyed the way this is set out. Random encounters, unwanted attention. This is where things turn up that you have to deal with. Then we have the bestiary. So we have the creature lists, bioworms, bounty hunters, all sorts of things. We have the Porygota, which is a giant insect. And those are the magmites I was talking about there. They are all in there. And then we have all the rules for those later. And this guy's the giant insect, I think. I think he's from Frostgrave, but I need to get myself one of those because it's a cool model. And that's it. That is the book. And obviously we got what we talked about before, the templates there. So there's a lot in there. It's mainly rules. There's no real sort of background thing because it's kind of a generic universe and you make it what you want. Some of the models I'm going to be using, I think we saw them actually in the book, are these old rogue robots for my droid only crew. We'll see how that goes. I got this from Firestone Games. These are actually figures from, I think, I can't remember, it's one of their older lines, but they seem to have repackaged them with the Stargrave logo. Is it called? It's not called Old Rogues. I can't remember what it's called. But if you go on to the name's slipped out of my head. I knew it about 10 minutes ago when I was thinking about it. Is it in here? No. Yeah, if you go onto North Star military figures and have a look at the sets, you'll see some sci-fi ones. You'll see that these are in the other set as well. But these guys here, let's open it up, let's have a look. Some of the ones I'm going to be using. So we have, this guy is like a commando. There's a bit of flash on there. That's pretty cool. Well, he's not a commando, it's like a robotic gunfighter, but I'm going to use this guy as a commando, basically. And then we have this guy down here who does look like a sniper, and that's what I'm going to use him for. I think this guy is, yeah, he's got this gun on his back, so that's what that's for. So these are the kind of older models, retro models that you can use. I'm also going to be using some 3D printed models. One of these guys is from Print Minis. That is a medic. That's what I'm going to use him for. You can see he's a lot bigger than this guy, but kind of like that. Like he's really strong, pick people up and drag them out of harm's way. And I got these little drones as well. I'm going to be using as the recruits to glue that on again, get them on some bases. So yeah, so got some 3D printed models, got some older models, and I do also have the crew and mercenaries boxes, which we'll do in a separate video. I think we'll have a look at them. Oh, I wonder where that gone. There was a little knife. I think that might be for the sniper guy. So yeah, so hopefully you'll see them again. Hopefully they'll be painted. And hopefully this has been an informative video if you not know what Stargrave is. I am really impressed by this, and I really want to play some games of it, so that's probably what I'm going to be doing. Yeah, it's also tempted me to go back and buy Frostgrave as well, because if it's as neat as this, it sounds like a really good game. It's one I've always sort of like had in the back of my mind that I wanted to play, but because there was so many expansions for it, it's quite expensive to get into. But this is so far the only one that's come out. I think there's one coming out this September. If you're watching this when I've filmed it, that'll be the future. If you're watching this in the future, it's probably the past. There we go. But there's one coming out in September. Quarantine, I think it's called. But it's up for pre-order on Amazon. I saw that. So I'll probably well, there's no probably about it. I'm definitely going to get it. So there we go. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for listening to me rambling. In the next video, I'm actually going to show you some green stuff world bases that I'm going to do for all the Stargrave things. So stay tuned for that. And then after that, I'll probably unbox the crew and mercenaries boxes. I might even see if I can get the troopers box too, because the models are very nice, and hopefully I can show them off soon. So please like and subscribe, stay tuned for more, and you guys take care for now. Bye!